I was the universally despised fake heiress, and the day I stood on the rooftop, I saw the barrage of comments. Sweetheart, don't jump, you were never a fake heiress, you're the real young lady who was kidnapped. Damn the protagonist's family. To console Mrs. Smith, who had lost her own daughter, they actually stole another family's precious child. Not only did they steal you, but they also treated you horribly, sweetheart. Please don't jump, your real family has been searching for you like crazy, your brother will arrive in 30 seconds, please hold on a little longer. I paused, momentarily dazed. Before I could retract my outstretched foot, someone grabbed me from behind and we tumbled to the ground together. A tear fell hot on her forehead, her choked voice trembling. Don't be afraid, sweetheart, Big Brother is here. Before I could react, I was tightly held in someone's arms, then we both fell to the ground. With him acting as a cushion, firmly protecting me and not letting a speck of dust touch me, my slow brain suddenly worked quickly, catching the voice of the person beneath me. He said, "Don't be scared, little one, Big Brother is here." Before I could even voice my confusion, the strange barrage of comments exploded across the screen, confirming the newcomer's identity. Great, it's Big Brother. He finally made it. Woo-woo. I was so scared just now. From now on, baby, you'll have a family who truly loves and cares for you. Don't lose hope. Your life is still long. Don't hurt yourself over people and things that aren't worth it. Big Brother was so scared he cried, "Baby, look, there are still people in this world who care about you. Don't die. None of this is your fault. Those who love me, those who care about me." I touched my forehead, where the warmth and dampness of rolling tears still seemed to linger. The young man, still shaken, picked me up and checked my arms and legs. His expression was tense, his voice filled with concern. "Does it hurt here? What about here? Are you hurt anywhere?" "I'm sorry, I was too reckless. Tell me where it hurts." "Okay, sweetheart." Looking at his slightly reddened eyes, my lips moved, and after a long pause, I managed to say, "You're crying." Joseph was taken aback for a moment, but he didn't deny it. "Because I'm so happy to see you. Sweetheart, I've been looking for you for so long. 18 years, isn't that long enough? The damn female lead's family are practically human traffickers. Our baby was originally a bright and beloved little son. Look at how she's been tortured now." Big Brother suffered too, because he lost his sister. He's been living in self-loathing all these years. I didn't speak, glancing at the bullet comments before looking back at the man before me, someone who felt strangely familiar despite this being our first meeting. That's when I noticed how unusually thin and frail he was, almost to the point of looking sickly. Thinking I was confused about his identity, Joseph spoke cautiously. "My name is Joseph, your biological brother. Sweetheart, you're not a child of the Smith family. You're the treasure our Lincoln family lost 18 years ago. Mom, Dad, and I have been searching for you all these years, waiting for you to come home. If you've been wronged, tell your brother, okay? Our whole family will stand up for you." We sat on the rooftop, Joseph holding my hand tightly as he recounted stories from my childhood in fragments. The little girl in his words was lively and adorable, the joy of the family, someone everyone would love, a person entirely different from who I am now. Without those memories, I began to doubt myself, nervously pinching my palm. Joseph seemed to sense my unease. His large hand gently stroked my hair, his movements and tone unusually tender. "It's okay if you don't remember, you were very young back then. You'll have many wonderful memories in the future. If only I hadn't secretly taken you out back then, you wouldn't have suffered so much." Joseph's voice grew heavy toward the end, his guilt unmistakable. "It's not your fault." I reached out to wipe the tears from his eyes. The bullet comments mentioned that on my 3rd birthday, I had stubbornly begged 10-year-old Joseph to take me out to play, only to get lost, a separation that lasted 18 years. All these years, Joseph never had a good night's sleep. After coming of age, he traveled across the entire country searching for any trace of me, but how could I blame him? He was just as young back then. He simply couldn't resist his little sister's coquettish pleas. Joseph held me tightly in his arms, as if unwilling to let me see his tears again. Yet his voice was choked with sobs as he said, "I'm sorry." I patted his back, clumsily comforting him. "It's okay, at least he's found me now. At least I know there's still someone in this world who has been waiting for me." "What's my name?" A thought flashed through my mind. What name would I have grown up with if I hadn't gotten lost? They say a child's name carries their parents' deepest hopes for them. I don't want to be called Lily Smith anymore, so when I asked this question, I rarely showed a hint of anticipation. Joseph's hand tightened slightly. And he answered me very seriously, "Your name is Pearl Lincoln." As expected, it was a good name. With my expectations fulfilled, I felt both a little elated and somewhat at ease, but this feeling didn't last long before a familiar, mocking voice reached my ears. "Big brother, I told you, someone like her would never actually try to kill herself. See, she just pulled this stunt to hang out with these shady people. Let's not bother with her anymore." It was Wendy Smith. My body trembled uncontrollably in a stress response as Joseph shielded me, his sharp gaze fixed on the approaching man and woman. "Lily Smith, how much longer are you going to keep making a scene? Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough already? Get over here." Simon didn't bother to hide the thick disgust in his tone. He stood there, ignoring Joseph's presence, his opening words dripping with reprimand. "My name isn't Lily Smith. I have a new name. I'm Pearl Lincoln," I whispered in protest. As if this could sever all ties between me and the Smith family. "I am not Lily Smith, not the fake heiress who stole another's place, nor the universally despised outcast whose reputation lies in ruins. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm definitely going to teach you how to behave properly today. If you dare pull this stunt again, you're dead." Simon ignored Wendy Smith's order to leave and instead walked toward me, attempting to yank me out of Joseph's arms. "Get lost." Joseph finally pieced together the intruder's identity from our exchange, filled with both heartache and rage. He didn't hesitate to land a brutal punch on Simon's face the moment he laid hands on me. "So you're the one bullying my sister? How dare you? Who gave you the right to speak to her like that, to shout at her? What, Lily Smith? This is my sister, Pearl Lincoln. Remember that name. You better etch it into your ears." Don't be fooled by Joseph's slender appearance. He's completely overpowering Simon, each punch landing heavier than the last. The usually aloof young master of a wealthy family is pinned to the ground, losing his composure for the first time, utterly defenseless. Wendy Smith's smug expression vanished. She hadn't expected this outcome, watching Simon get beaten. She let out a startled cry but didn't dare step forward. So satisfying. This is the same Simon who's been suppressing our darling, telling her not to dream of replacing his precious sister. He's bullied her since childhood in every way possible. How ironic. Now his beloved sister just stands there watching him get beaten without lifting a finger. Remember how our supporting female character, just a child back then, had the courage to step up and protect him when he was bullied. Did he forget those years of deepest insecurity after losing his legs in the car accident, when it was always this fake sister who took care of and encouraged him? After the real heiress returned, he had already lashed out at the supporting female character several times, and slapping her in public became a common sight. The barrage of comments went wild as they watched Joseph beat Simon into a defenseless state, and those long-buried memories began flooding back into my mind. Indeed, I had known since childhood that I wasn't the biological daughter of the Smith family, not for any other reason, but because Simon would remind me of it over and over again. The harsh, stinging verbal abuse accompanied my childhood. He called me a thief, saying I stole everything from his sister. He hated me, and that hatred lasted into adulthood. He wouldn't allow me to stand out or be confident. He said I didn't deserve it because those were things his sister should have had. The turning point came the year he graduated, when he got into a car accident and lost his leg. He became gloomy and irritable, to the point where even our parents couldn't get close to him. Despite his beatings and insults, I stayed by his side, taking care of him and encouraging him. It took several years, but he gradually became less hostile toward me. After his leg injury healed, we became as harmonious as any ordinary siblings, until Wendy Smith returned. She had a very hard life. Her adoptive parents were a typical family that favored sons over daughters, making her drop out of school early to earn money for the family and even planning to sell her for their son's bride price. While working a part-time job, she accidentally saw a photo of the Smith couple and noticed her strikingly similar resemblance to them. Hearing they had a daughter lost outside, she decided to take a gamble. Unexpectedly, fate played its hand. She truly was the Smith's child. The day she returned, she had fled from a forced marriage, wearing a cheap, shoddy wedding dress, her face marked by crimson slap marks, her arms bruised and scarred. In such a wretched state, she stood in the grand hall of the Smith family. At that moment, I saw the familiar hatred in Simon's eyes again. Hatred for my carefree life of comfort while his young sister had suffered so much. The Smith family tearfully welcomed their long-lost kin, while I stood there, utterly out of place. From then on, in every encounter with Wendy Smith, I was the one forced to bow my head in apology. Damn, my brother may look skinny, but he's got some serious strength. Simon got beaten to a pulp. This is hilarious. Why is the baby spacing out? Could it be bad memories resurfacing? The Smith family really deserves to die. The barrage of comments snapped me back to reality, glancing at Simon's bruised and swollen face. I grabbed Joseph's arm before he could throw another punch. Stop fighting. Killing someone would cost you your life. It's not worth it. Joseph was very obedient. The moment I held him back, he restrained his strength and let go of Simon's collar. Stay away from my sister. If I hear you talk to her like that again, I won't hold back. Joseph's knuckles were red and bleeding. I pressed my lips together and pulled a band-aid from my pocket. After getting hurt so often, I'd grown accustomed to carrying these things with me. Joseph watched my movements in silence for a long time without saying a word. Only after I finished applying the bandage did he sigh and pat my head, saying, "How can you be so good, sweetheart? You're practically the cutest little angel in the world." My hand paused for a moment, and I didn't speak, but for some reason, I felt my nose sting slightly. That's right, our baby is the best baby in the world, big brother. Hurry up and praise her more, make up for all the missed years. The Smith family only knows how to suppress and manipulate. Finally, it's our turn as supporting female characters to be comforted like this. Sob sob, I'm so touched. Joseph is wonderful, and the barrage comments are great too. On this very day when I was contemplating ending my life, I unexpectedly tasted a hint of warmth. Big brother will take you home. Joseph took my hand again, his warm palm making me feel so at ease. I looked down at our tightly clasped hands, then met Joseph's eyes and nodded. At this moment, Wendy Smith, who had been pretending to be dead all along, suddenly spoke up. "Lily Smith, how dare you team up with outsiders to attack your own brother? Aren't you afraid of what Mom and Dad will say?" Her words froze me in place. A flicker of mockery flashed in Wendy Smith's eyes, her confidence unshaken as if she was certain I cared about the Smiths and feared their reproachful, disappointed gazes. "Scared now, aren't you? Kneel and beg me. And maybe I'll put in a good word for you with Mom and Dad." She thought she had found my weakness, all traces of her earlier fear and panic completely gone. Wendy Smith. I raised my head and locked eyes with her gaze. What? She didn't notice anything amiss. I glanced at Simon, lying on the ground severely injured and disheveled, and suddenly burst into laughter. Nothing, just thinking how strange blood ties can be. One is an ingrate, and the other is also an ingrate. After Wendy Smith returned to the Smith family, Simon was the one who most cherished and protected her. He would carefully tend to her sensitivities, help her integrate into high society, and publicly declare her as his only sister, no matter right or wrong. Simon always stood by her side, as if trying to compensate her with the best of everything in the world. But now, Simon was lying on the ground just like that. Wendy Smith's first reaction wasn't to help him up or take him to the hospital. Instead, she wanted to use his injury to humiliate me. How much genuine affection did she have for this brother in her heart, just like Simon had for me? "You lunatic, what are you laughing at?" Wendy Smith was displeased when she saw me smile. "I laugh at the deep bond between you siblings." Wendy Smith froze at my words, as if finally realizing something. A flash of annoyance crossed her face before she rushed to Simon's side. "Brother, are you okay? I just wanted Lily Smith to apologize to you. How could she treat you like this? You've been siblings living together for over a decade." Simon had already recovered somewhat. Avoiding Wendy Smith's attempt to support him, he covered his chest and stood up. "Lily Smith, come home with me. I'll pretend nothing happened today." Joseph tightened his grip on my hand, his eyes filled with concern as he looked at me. Compared to this suddenly appearing brother of his, Simon and I had grown up together. He was afraid I still held expectations for him. "I'm going home, but not with you. This time." I didn't linger and took the initiative to walk away. Joseph let out a sigh of relief and glanced back at Simon with a hint of provocation. I had no idea about the silent exchanges between them. It wasn't until I got into Joseph's car that I began to feel nervous, realizing it all belatedly. What kind of people are they? Will they like me? Will I fail to meet their expectations of how a child should grow up? I smoothed out the slightly wrinkled hem of my clothes, while Joseph occasionally stole glances at my reaction in the mirror. "Don't worry, they'll all like you. Don't worry, baby. The Lincoln family is completely different. The little bitter-gourd family is finally going to reunite, baby. When you see your parents, you won't doubt their love for you anymore. Just by standing there, you are the most perfect child in your parents' eyes. Don't be nervous." Joseph and the barrage of comforting comments helped ease my emotions a little. and I wasn't as tense anymore, until I stood before that unfamiliar couple. They didn't look old, yet their hair had already turned white. The gaze directed at me was filled with eagerness and tears. Pearl, my darling, a warm, fragrant embrace tightly enveloped me, leaving me somewhat flustered as I instinctively searched for Joseph's presence. Sweetheart, this is your mother. Joseph's eyes held encouragement as he explained the identity of the person before me. I still couldn't quite adjust and resisted slightly. Sensing my discomfort, Kathy released me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I was just too excited. Please don't hate me, my child, she spoke with such caution, as if handling something fragile. I opened my mouth but didn't know what to say. Joseph stood by my side, giving me a sense of security. Mom, Pearl just came back and needs time to adjust. She doesn't hate you, Joseph said, both helping me out of the awkward situation and comforting our grieving mother. Kathy, the child must be tired. We have plenty of time ahead of us. David, also known as Mr. Lincoln, stepped forward to support Kathy and gently comforted her, his gaze toward me filled with longing and relief. That's right, there's plenty of time, sweetheart. Why don't you let your brother take you to your room? Everything was prepared by Mom herself. See if you like it. She could tell I was more comfortable with Joseph and trusted him, so she suggested that Joseph show me to my room. I nodded and, under Kathy's hopeful gaze, followed Joseph upstairs. The room was thoughtfully decorated in a pink and white color scheme that girls typically love. There were adorable stuffed animals on the bed, and a vase of fresh, dewy lilies sat on the table by the window. A separate walk-in closet, filled with all sorts of pretty clothes for a young girl, and the dressing table is not empty either, fully stocked with toiletries and accessories. Joseph said they've been adding new things every year, as if I had never been gone. Those dolls were all hand-sewn by Kathy, one by one, because my third birthday wish for Mom was to have a doll made by her own hands, and so, every year she made one, waiting for me to come back and see the doll I had wished for. I held a pink doll in my arms, which seemed to still carry the warm scent of Kathy. She wasn't quite what I had imagined. She should have been a refined, well-maintained lady like Mrs. Smith. So why had her hair turned white so early? Those bullet comments seemed to have mind-reading abilities, appearing once again. Mrs. Lincoln and Mr. Lincoln's hair turned white because they had previously heard false news and thought their baby had died. They spend a significant amount of time and money every year on public welfare, helping many abducted and lost children find their way home. All of this is done in the hope that heaven will take pity on their own precious child. So, my dear, there's no need to be afraid. Those who love you only wish for your health and safety. So, that head of white hair was because of me. I tightened my grip on the stuffed toy in my hands and glanced around the carefully decorated room. For the first time, I fell into a deep, unguarded sleep in a completely unfamiliar place. Don't they really have anything else to do? I whispered to Joseph, clutching my paintbrush. Ever since I returned, I'd hardly seen Lincoln's parents leave for work. Weren't they supposed to be company CEOs or something? How come they're never busy? Joseph noticed my confusion and patted my head. It's rare family time. They'll manage their schedules. Are you not used to having them hover around you? I pursed my lips and glanced at the two people sitting in the garden, eagerly offering to be my models. Their faces were lit with deep smiles, and when they noticed my gaze, they even waved at me. Truly, their enthusiasm was overwhelming. Pearl, if you're uncomfortable, you can say so. Don't force yourself. Joseph sighed with concern as he noticed my hesitation, worried that I might be accommodating them too much at the expense of my own feelings. I'm just not used to it. I don't dislike it. This feeling of being the center of the world. I doubt anyone would dislike it. It's just that I've never had it before, and suddenly obtaining it inevitably brings a bit of bewildered confusion. All right, not disliking it. Then let's take our time to adjust. Okay, no rush. Pearl, we'll all wait for you. Joseph sighed in relief upon hearing my response. I looked at him and noticed his spirits were clearly more listless than before, almost as if he were gravely ill. Are you feeling unwell? You don't have to teach me. Go rest. The dark circles under his eyes were quite pronounced. It's nothing, just some insomnia, an old issue. Pearl, don't worry. I'd really like to teach you painting myself. Joseph didn't take his health seriously. His insomnia wasn't a recent problem either. He had seen many doctors, but they all said it was psychological. He had been trapped in the day his sister went missing. Now that his sister had returned, he thought his condition would gradually improve. Meeting Joseph's determined gaze, I didn't press further but quietly tucked him into my painting, though I didn't call it out loud. I've already acknowledged it in my heart several times. This is my brother. Didn't Wendy Smith say Lily Smith ran off with that blonde guy? Why is she here? Could she have sneaked in to try and win the Smith family's sympathy again, hoping to return to the family, after all the terrible things she's done to Wendy Smith? And I heard she even teamed up with that blonde guy to beat up Simon. There's no way the Smith family would take her back. She's just humiliating herself. You all have such narrow minds. With that pretty face of hers and dressed so beautifully today. She's probably here to catch herself a rich husband. He, how disgusting. Today is the Lincoln family heiress's event. She clearly doesn't know her place. When I appeared at the banquet in my evening gown, those familiar faces froze for a moment before starting to gossip without restraint. I've never fit in with this circle. They dislike my sensitive nature, resent me for being an adopted child, and despise me even more for being overlooked. So they've never been willing to associate with me, yet they're always eager to watch my dramas unfold. I wanted to explain that Joseph isn't some punk, he's my brother, but before I could speak, a voice suddenly interrupted me from behind. Lily, what are you doing here? It was Mrs. Smith's voice. I paused, momentarily too afraid to turn around. My feelings towards Mrs. Smith are complicated. Sometimes she treats me so kindly, as if I were her own daughter, yet at other times, her eyes are filled with disgust towards me, forbidding me to call her Mom. They say she is ill, that the trauma of losing her biological daughter was too much for her to bear, and that's why she acts this way. Mr. Smith asked me to spend more time with her, saying she would be fine once she got over it. I've always been obedient, playing the role of her well-behaved and sensible daughter when she needs me, and keeping my distance when she doesn't, so as not to upset her by my presence. Lily, Mom is talking to you. How can you be so rude? Did you bring people to hurt your brother? How could you be so unreasonable? Your brother only went to find you because he cares about you. How could you team up with outsiders to attack him? Mrs. Smith's words were filled with displeasure. Simon was injured, and Wendy Smith exaggerated the situation, placing all the blame on me. This is no place for you. Come home with me and apologize to your brother. As Mrs. Smith reached out to pull me, I sidestepped to avoid her, shaking my head repeatedly at her grim expression. That is not my home. I am not Lily Smith, and he is not my brother. I won't go back. I now resist everything related to the Smith family. Are you still sulking with the family? It was you who pushed Wendy down the stairs in the first place. You deserve punishment for doing wrong. What right do you have to sulk? This was the first time I had defied Mrs. Smith, and she was utterly incredulous. She didn't believe she had ever treated me unfairly. Her biological daughter had returned, and she was brimming with maternal love, eager to make up for everything. Yet, I had to choose this very moment to lay a hand on Wendy Smith. To make matters worse, I was cruel enough to push her down the stairs, so she didn't hesitate to slap me. But in her eyes, this was merely punishment for my wrongdoing. I had no right to hold a grudge. I didn't push her. I denied it once again. I had never laid a finger on Wendy Smith, but Mrs. Smith didn't believe it, and neither did anyone in the Smith family. Fine, you say you didn't push Wendy, then what about Ian? He came back bruised and battered that day after going to see you. How dare you claim that has nothing to do with you either? Lily, when did you become such a deceitful and malicious child? Mrs. Smith didn't even mention letting me go home anymore. The look she gave me was filled with unconcealed disgust and disappointment. In the past, I would have been utterly unsettled by such a gaze, apologizing to her regardless of right or wrong, but now, with great difficulty, I straightened my back, determined to speak in my own defense. It was me who hit Simon. What about it? It was Joseph. He had just gone to fetch the gift, something he had long admired and asked someone to purchase and send back for him. And who are you? So this is the kind of person you've been fooling around with outside that makes you unwilling to come home. Joseph looked somewhat unfamiliar, not like any of the kids she knew from their circle. So Mrs. Smith didn't bother to be polite with him. As she retorted, she couldn't help but glance at me. You came to my family's party without knowing who I am. Oh, right, I remember now. I didn't invite anyone from the Smith family. So how exactly did you get in, ma'am? Joseph stepped closer to me, observing my reaction, his eyes silently asking if I was okay. I shook my head, and only then did he turn his attention back to Mrs. Smith, unleashing his full verbal firepower. Joseph's lean figure standing beside me always gives me a sense of security, making me feel that I have support and am not alone and helpless. Are you Mr. Lincoln's child? Mrs. Smith was taken aback. The Lincoln family banquet had indeed not invited her, but she wanted to get to know Mrs. Lincoln. Which was why she came with a friend, hearing it was a family reunion banquet, and coincidentally, her own daughter had just been recognized. She felt she must have common ground with this Mrs. Lincoln, but she never expected that the person who had been with me and injured Simon was actually Mrs. Lincoln's child. Mrs. Smith's probing gaze fell upon Joseph and me, as she speculated about the nature of our relationship. The Lincoln family does not welcome you, please leave. This order to leave did not come from Joseph, but from Kathy, who had just come downstairs. She and Mr. Lincoln had been delayed for only a short while. They had thought nothing would go wrong at home, but who could have imagined that in such a short time, someone would dare to bully their own child? She knew exactly who stood before her, the mentally unstable lady of the Smith family, also the adoptive mother of her child. She had already suppressed her anger at wanting to settle accounts with someone, out of gratitude for being raised, but she didn't expect Mrs. Smith to come knocking on her door. Mrs. Lincoln, I was just disciplining my ignorant daughter, and I didn't have any conflict with your son. Mrs. Smith felt a bit overwhelmed. Her desire to befriend Kathy was also for the sake of the Smith family's business. In the past few days, an unknown force had been targeting the Smith family, leaving Mr. Smith distraught. He thought of the Lincoln family, who had just moved back to City A, and wanted to establish a connection with them, which led to today's encounter. Say that again. Who exactly are you lecturing? Kathy grew even more displeased upon hearing her words. How could her beloved treasure be spoken of as someone who could be casually scolded and beaten in another's mouth? That day when she held her, she had already noticed how pitifully thin the girl was, with numerous scars covering her body. Mrs. Lincoln, the girl beside your son is my daughter. She made a mistake, and I merely reprimanded her a little. There's no need for such an overreaction. Mrs. Smith found it utterly baffling. Disciplining her adopted daughter wasn't some unforgivable sin. What do you mean, your daughter? This is my daughter. Before Mrs. Smith could dwell on her confusion for long, Kathy dropped the bombshell. What? Mrs. Smith was stunned, and a collective gasp echoed around her. The gossiping young women who had been chattering earlier immediately fell silent, their faces flushed with embarrassment and a hint of bewilderment. This is my daughter, Pearl Lincoln. By what right do you presume to lecture her? Kathy spoke again, her expression cold as she stared at the frozen Mrs. Smith. Pearl, come to mommy. With that, her tone softened as she beckoned to me. Leaving no room for doubt. Go on. Joseph gently nudged me from behind, meeting his encouraging gaze and Kathy's expectant look. I finally took a step forward. I obediently stood beside Kathy, and she naturally took my hand. I'm sure you all know that I lost a treasure years ago, and now that I've finally found her again, no amount of pampering is too much, but someone here, on my property, is bullying my child like this. Do they have any regard for me, Kathy, or for the Lincoln family? As Kathy said this, she scanned everyone present, finally settling her gaze on Mrs. Smith. How is that possible? Lily was clearly abandoned on the street. My husband found her. How could she be the Lincoln family's daughter? Mrs. Smith was still in disbelief. When Mr. Smith brought me home, he said I had been abandoned by my parents, and he brought me home as an adopted daughter out of pity. Talking nonsense. Who knows if it's genuine or feigned ignorance? The female lead was dressed so well when she got lost. How could she have been abandoned by her parents? As everyone knows, if you find money on the street, you should hand it over to the police, let alone a child. Poor female lead, so young yet traumatized. A high fever made her forget everything. If not for seeking treatment abroad for Mrs. Smith's illness, her family would have found Pearl long ago. Bullet comments swiftly flew across the screen, venting dissatisfaction. This wasn't the first time they'd accused me of being deliberately taken in, a child picked up off the streets, and you didn't report it to the police but kept them secretly. The Smith family really never fails to surprise me. Joseph chimed in at the perfect moment. Mrs. Smith froze, momentarily at a loss for words. What could she say? Admit that she'd lost her mind for years after her own child went missing, and Mr. Smith couldn't bear it. So he used the found child as an emotional crutch. She couldn't bring herself to say it, so the air fell silent. Only the barrage of comments remained lively. Brother is the best. Just ask like that. Come on, answer already, old witch, pretending to be clueless when she knows full well her own daughter is a treasure, but she'll torment the adopted one all she wants. I originally considered your kindness in raising Pearl and didn't want to pursue this, but seeing how you spoke to her today, I can imagine what kind of life my daughter must have had with you." Kathy, moved by emotion, couldn't hold back her tears. I didn't mistreat her. I always treated her as my own daughter." "Lily, say something. Haven't I been good to you?" Mrs. Smith panicked, unable to bear the strange looks from those around her. She absolutely couldn't afford to be labeled as someone who mistreated her adopted daughter, especially since the circumstances of the adoption weren't entirely above board. "No. You weren't good to me at all." Mrs. Smith had assumed my personality wouldn't allow me to contradict her, but now I stared straight into her eyes, every word catching her off guard. "I'm just a substitute for your longing for Wendy Smith, an object you can summon and dismiss at will. Your love and kindness were never meant for me. Only when you mistake me for Wendy Smith do I dare call you mother." "Mrs. Smith, you've never treated me well while playing this substitute role." I endured both beatings and scoldings. The worst moment was when she held scissors to my neck, demanding I die. "Lily, you..." Mrs. Smith's hands trembled uncontrollably. She never expected the most compliant, most obedient person to publicly humiliate her like this. "Mrs. Smith, please leave. Today is my daughter's day, and I don't want her to see people she dislikes." Kathy squeezed my hand, and she spoke again to dismiss her, even with all her nerve. Mrs. Smith didn't dare to stay. She gave me a deep look and then turned to leave. Somewhat awkwardly, I let out a long sigh of relief. Finally, I had said what was on my mind, and I felt much lighter. "Pearl, you've been wronged." Kathy tenderly stroked my hair. "Great job." Joseph also patted me on the shoulder. I couldn't help but slowly smile as I watched them. This winter probably wouldn't be as cold as before, after Mrs. Smith caused such a scene. Those young ladies no longer had the face to stay. They quietly left early, especially since Kathy had said she didn't want anyone who affected my mood to still be prancing around here. They had just said those sarcastic things. Even if they didn't leave on their own, the Lincoln family would have sent someone to ask them to leave. But today was a huge embarrassment, all because of Wendy Smith. She had already met Joseph and even said something about a younger sister running off with some guy, making them really believe it was true. Not only did they miss out on the excitement, but they also ended up in a mess. The Lincoln family might already hold a grudge, and if this affects their own family, who knows what kind of punishment they'll face. The more they thought about it, the angrier they got, and one by one, they called Wendy Smith to give her a piece of their mind. What the hell? Are they insane? Why are they all coming after me? What Lincoln family's young lady, Lily Smith, isn't even worthy. Just an orphan girl Dad picked up off the streets. Wendy Smith endured several rounds of scolding and, in a fit of anger, smashed her phone. Simon, passing by, heard the commotion and stopped. His arm was still in a sling, fractured by Joseph. "What did you say? What about Lily Smith?" He had stopped upon hearing my name. "Brother, why do you care about her too? If it weren't for her, would you be injured like this?" Wendy Smith was already having a stress reaction to the name Lily Smith. She couldn't stand the thought of her usually doting older brother paying attention to someone else's news. Wendy Smith. This time Simon didn't coax her, he just solemnly called her name. Wendy Smith pursed her lips but still spoke up. "Those sisters just called me and said Lily Smith is actually the little heiress the Lincoln family found. Pearl Lincoln." So that person wasn't lying that day after all. As she spoke, she suddenly remembered the words Joseph had said when he punched Simon. He said, "She's not some Lily Smith, she's my sister, Pearl Lincoln." After Wendy Smith finished muttering to herself, she noticed Simon hadn't reacted. She couldn't help but look up at him, only to find his face terribly dark. It wasn't until Simon left without a word that Wendy Smith couldn't help but complain. "What's the deal?" he asked. And then he doesn't say anything. I know all of this was recounted to me by the bullet comments, but I don't have the extra energy to spend on irrelevant people. I noticed Joseph's health was deteriorating. He was getting thinner every day, forcing himself to stay energetic for me, yet I could still see the exhaustion in his eyes. "Pearl, what's wrong?" Joseph sounded confused when I covered his eyes. "Brother, let's go see the doctor again," I said softly. "I really like our life now. Joseph likes it. Mom and Dad like it too. I don't want anything bad to happen to any of us." "Pearl, what did you just call me?" Joseph froze. It was the first time I had ever called him brother. "Brother." I let go of my hands and leaned closer to call him again. In my heart, he had long been my brother. Joseph suddenly raised a hand to cover his eyes once more, but drops of moisture trailed down his temples. Pearl, Be good, your brother is here, a simple sentence. Yet it's hard not to hear the choked-up tone. I realize Joseph really cries easily, so my brother is actually a crybaby. Sniff sniff, I'm about to tear up. Pearl has finally opened her heart to her brother. Look how excited our brother is. Even while crying, he still remembers to maintain his image. This is what true family should be like. You care for me, and I cherish you. Who would be like that ungrateful Simon? The barrage of comments appeared again, flooding the screen with tearful emojis. I smiled and held Joseph's hand, suddenly feeling incredibly fortunate. A group of warm-hearted people has been healing me all along. Joseph, because I called him brother, let me have my way and didn't even refuse my suggestion to go back to the hospital for another checkup. He knew this was my way of caring for him, even deliberately mentioning it in front of our parents with a hint of pride. It was a rare moment of childishness. Pearl, you have no idea how jealous Mom and Dad were. It was the first time I saw such vivid expressions on their faces. On the way to the hospital, Joseph couldn't help sharing with me, even though I had been there the whole time, but I still listened to him attentively. He seems so much more energetic when he's happy, as if he's come alive. I think, if just calling him brother can make him like this, I'd be happy to call him that every day. Pearl, thank you. I was still lost in thought when a large hand landed on my head, ruffling my hair. I was a bit confused. Out of nowhere, why was he thanking me? Thank you for coming back to us. Joseph seemed to sense my confusion. He slowly curved his lips into a doting smile. I thank you too. Thank you for finding me at my most disheveled and darkest moment. No words needed, just a glance, and Joseph could read my thoughts. The siblings thanking each other back and forth are so adorable. It warms my cold, dead heart. It's mutual salvation, really. If Pearl hadn't been found, I doubt her brother could have held on much longer. Let's drag the Smith family out and curse them 10,000 times again. Don't worry, Mr. Lincoln is already investigating, just waiting to catch them red-handed. Just when the atmosphere was harmonious, I ran into the person I least wanted to see, Lily Smith. It was Wendy Smith's voice. She had come with Simon. Why are you here? Are you sick? Simon asked me, his brows furrowed as if he were facing some difficult problem. None of your business. Is this hospital yours? Joseph retorted effortlessly. I tugged at his sleeve, trying to remind him that the Smith family did indeed own a private hospital. I'm talking to my sister, who asked for your opinion. Simon and Joseph were like sworn enemies meeting. Their hostility was palpable. Your sister? Do you know what she called me today? Brother. So whose sister is she really? Joseph felt that since I had already called him that, he had the confidence to provoke Simon, especially since Simon doesn't seem to treat me very well. Lily Smith, tell me, who is your real brother? Simon turned his gaze to me, as if he would always hold the upper hand in my eyes. Without a doubt. Excuse me, my brother and I have something to attend to. This time, however, I disappointed him. I linked arms with Joseph and brushed past him. Who the real brother was needed no explanation. Suddenly, someone grabbed my arm. Looking up, I saw Simon, his face very pale. Say that again. Who's your brother? What are you doing? Touching me? What? Do you want this arm broken too? Joseph shook off his hand, shielding me behind him, his expression wary. Lily Smith. I'm not called Lily Smith. I've said it many times. I don't like this name at all. Fine, then I'll call you Pearl. After a long silence, Simon decided to compromise. Brother, what are you doing? Wendy Smith couldn't believe her eyes. Was this the scene she was supposed to witness? Absolutely not. No need. I don't like that either. The intimate nickname, Pearl, belongs to someone close, and it shouldn't be coming from Simon's mouth. I have nothing to do with the Smith family anymore. Don't bother me again. I owe you nothing. After some thought, I decided to make it clear. Wendy Smith has found her family, and I've found mine too. The best outcome now is for everyone to return to their rightful places without disturbing each other. People always fail to cherish what they have. Now that you regret it, it's too late. Actually, have you noticed how complex Simon's feelings for Pearl are? Like a sister. But also, you know what I mean. I think he became even more disgusted once he realized it. Disgusted with himself, yet unable to resist wanting to get closer. But the boundary between siblings was there. Which is why he kept wavering over and over again. He didn't dare admit his feelings, so he hurt Pearl to prove to himself that he wasn't falling for her. Thankfully Pearl doesn't know, or how revolting would that be? I paused briefly while holding Joseph's arm and didn't spare Simon and the others another glance. Actually, I know all these things the bullet comments are saying, I'm aware of them. I discovered it during the time I was taking care of Simon after he broke his leg. But I pretended not to know anything. Perhaps Simon found out later than I did, but now, none of that matters. What's more important is my brother's health. See, I told you, there's nothing wrong with me, I just haven't been sleeping well. After the examination, the results showed that Joseph was indeed in good health. Yet this only deepened the worry. If nothing was wrong, why was he growing thinner by the day? Pearl, don't frown, I know my own body best, and I'm fine. I still have a long time to spend with you, making up for all those lost years. Joseph sighed and comforted me, but I still couldn't let go of my worries. It wasn't until the psychological examination showed that Joseph's mental state was improving that I had no choice but to believe it. I saw Wendy Smith and the others again 2 months later. During these 2 months, the Lincoln family parents took Joseph and me on trips all over the country and abroad. Joseph still looked sickly, but fortunately, he didn't develop any serious illnesses, and all his checkup results were healthy. As for the Smith family, after the disgrace they suffered at my recognition banquet, no one was willing to help the Smith family. Mr. Smith and Simon were so busy they couldn't stop for a moment. It wasn't until things had finally stabilized that I saw Wendy Smith's figure again at a banquet. You must be so proud of yourself. After leaving the Smith family, you've become the heiress of the Lincoln family again. Lily Smith, how did you get so lucky? You enjoyed over a decade of wealth and luxury in my place, and now you've managed to climb even higher, even standing by the fountain in the backyard. Wendy Smith managed to find me. She's clearly been holding in her anger for a long time. She got what she wanted by driving me out of the Smith family, yet it seems she still can't escape my shadow. Her life has been completely turned upside down because of me. There was no script where everyone doted on her as she imagined, nor did I become universally disliked. Your life wasn't taken by me. I didn't lose you, and I didn't replace you. There's no way the blame can fall on me. That was her parents' failure. How can it not be your fault? Why do you get to live so well without suffering at all, while I have to fight and struggle just to get what you effortlessly obtain? Simon no longer prioritizes her in everything as he used to, and her parents, with time passing, have also grown less attentive as their guilt faded. She suddenly realized that the happiest days of her life were when I was in the Smith family, because I served as the negative contrast and reference. Everyone would ignore and scold me for her sake. And she relished that feeling, a pleasure she can no longer experience now. You should see a doctor, I genuinely suggested, thinking she might have psychological issues. Today, even my brothers came. Tell me, if they knew you pushed me into the water, who do you think they'd side with? Wendy Smith suddenly leaned in and whispered to me. Before I could react, she abruptly fell backward, letting out a scream as she tumbled into the pool. Help! The commotion quickly drew the attention of the others. Joseph only relaxed when he saw me standing there unharmed. Wendy Smith was pulled out of the water. Simon stepped forward and covered her with his jacket. She was in a sorry state, her hair plastered all over her face. Woo-woo, brother, I'm so scared. I almost died. It was Lily Smith who pushed me. She's retaliating against the Smith family, Wendy Smith cried, accusing. Simon helped her up and gave me a scrutinizing look, once again. Such a despicable trick, yet the Smith family falls for it time and time again. Lily Smith pushed it. What does that have to do with me? Pearl Lincoln. This time, before Joseph could speak, I took the initiative to defend myself. Everyone's minds went blank for a moment. It did seem like there was nothing wrong with that statement. Wendy Smith was speechless. Her crying even paused for a moment. Pearl, it really is you, Simon began. But before he could finish, I interrupted him. Shut up. I walked towards Wendy Smith and, before anyone could react, pushed her into the pool. See, this is why I'm pushing her, because I can't stand the sight of her. While Simon was busy pulling people out, I stood my ground and uttered these words from above. The scene immediately fell silent, with only Joseph applauding. Pearl is right, we, the Lincoln family, are all upright and courageous, not playing dirty. If we can't stand you, we'll deal with you on the spot, so next time. Don't use such low-level tactics. When Joseph said that, everyone suddenly realized that compared to those who settle scores face-to-face, they are naturally more afraid of those who play dirty behind their backs. If you openly dislike someone, that's quite a personality. If you know the other person has a grudge against you and still go up to them, you can only blame yourself for being unlucky. They had heard how much bad-mouthing Wendy Smith had done about me outside. After all, My reputation out there had become universally disliked, and they still dared to approach me. Wasn't that just asking for trouble? No one present was a fool. They understood what was going on with a little thought. Wendy Smith was caught off guard this time, choking on quite a bit of water, her face flushed red from coughing, but realizing no one was on her side, she had no choice but to fall silent. I thought she would continue to make a fuss. But I never expected retribution to come so swiftly. The Smith family was about to go bankrupt. Of course, Mr. Lincoln had a hand in this. Not only that, he also uncovered the truth about my disappearance years ago. As it turned out, Mr. Smith had ulterior motives for bringing me home. Seeing me separated from the crowd and left alone, he was inexplicably reminded of his own daughter. So he took me home, turning me into a tool to soothe his emotionally distressed wife. Mr. Lincoln sued him for child trafficking. The outcome of the lawsuit was beyond doubt, and the Smith family's downfall happened overnight. The root cause of this turmoil was also spread online, with rumors of the switched heiresses growing increasingly intense. As more and more evidence emerged, the Smith family became the proverbial rat crossing the street, hated by all. They never had a chance to recover, and the internet and public opinion will forever remember their deeds. The last time I saw Simon was when he apologized to me. He didn't realize that my arrival at the Smith family wasn't by my own choice, but due to my parents' selfish motives. He apologized for all the past wrongs, but I wasn't willing to accept it. Those hurts were real, etched into the memories of my childhood. How could a casual "I forgive you" from me now do justice to the younger me who endured so much suffering? Simon understood my stance and never appeared before me again. Not only that, he also restrained Wendy Smith from continuing her reckless behavior. The Smith family's downfall caused barely a ripple in the circle. This is how elite families operate, prioritizing interests above all, and anything without value isn't worth further discussion. Time flew by, and I was about to spend my first new year with the Lincoln family. Just as I had imagined, this winter was warmer than previous ones. Despite it being noon, I felt inexplicably drowsy and drifted into a heavy slumber, as if my soul had been pulled into another realm. This was the world of a novel about a true and fake heiress, where I played the role of the villainous fake daughter. Consumed by jealousy toward the real heiress, I committed every misdeed imaginable, becoming universally despised, a true object of scorn. Here I saw myself jump off the rooftop and die instantly, with Joseph arriving a step too late. He investigated my short life, discovered the grievances I suffered at the hands of the Smith family, and began a frenzied retaliation, becoming the major villain in the story. Yet he had been doing charity and good deeds every year. Simply because he opposed the so-called protagonist, he was labeled a villain. In the story, villains naturally cannot defeat the protagonists. In the end, he lost everything and spent the rest of his life in poverty. He no longer had the power to seek revenge against the Smith family, but he persisted in doing good deeds. Just before the end of his life, he encountered a monk who gave Joseph a copper coin, instructing him to make a wish under the Bodhi tree, either to stage a comeback or to bring retribution upon the Smith family. Yet Joseph chose neither. Clutching the copper coin devoutly, he made his wish. "O divine beings above, I offer all that I have in exchange. If there is a next life, may my sister Pearl find peace and fulfillment." Her every wish granted. Pearl, wait for your brother in the next life. Joseph's poor health might be the price paid for defying fate. I suddenly woke from my dream, unaware of when tears had already streaked my face. Outside, the sky had darkened. I must have slept for a long time. After composing myself and going downstairs, I saw Joseph busy at work. He noticed me and spoke with a smile. "Pearl, Happy New Year, brother, Happy New Year. Time to eat, time to eat. What are you two siblings standing there for?" Mr. Lincoln patted Joseph on the head, making him grimace in pain. Got it, Pearl, do you have any New Year's wishes? Tell me, and I'll make sure they come true," Joseph asked me, looking back as he walked. "After the new year, let's go to a temple to fulfill our vows," I suggested after some thought. Perhaps this was the turning point for my brother's health. All right, it's time to go." Mom also agreed with the suggestion, and Joseph naturally had no objections. "All right, may God bless our Pearl, keep Pearl safe." Joseph picked up a dumpling for me, and when I bit into it, there was a copper coin inside. Good fortune, the coming year will surely be smooth. My parents' joyful voices still echoed in my ears. I stared blankly at the copper coin. No need to ask God anymore, because my brother had already blessed me, year after year in peace. Every wish fulfilled, After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After graduation, I inherited my family's recycling station. While diligently collecting trash, I saw bullet comments. The wicked female villain, after committing countless evil deeds, has finally been kicked out of the house. The gloomy villain also reaped what he sowed and was scorned by everyone. Excellent. The bad kid who always went against our genius baby was also kicked out. Ha ha ha, that's so satisfying. I pedaled my little tricycle out the door without stopping. Vicious female villain, pick. Gloomy villain, pick. Bad kid, pick it up. Our aim is to turn waste into treasure. During graduation season, while my classmates were busy looking for jobs, I chose to go home and inherit the family business. A scrap recycling station. I was an orphan, adopted by an old woman who collected scrap. She passed away a year ago from a sudden cerebral hemorrhage. Before she left, Grandma held my hand and repeatedly told me to manage the family business well. I cried profusely, snot and tears streaming down my face, repeatedly saying, "Okay," and only then did Grandma feel relieved enough to leave. Collecting scrap is not a very respectable job, but I'm a lone wolf, and my income is perfectly sufficient for my basic needs. I studied accounting in college, so I don't even need to hire anyone else to handle the accounts. I saved another penny. I'm too strong, dealing with waste for a long time. My mental state has developed some problems. For example, large blocks of text began to float before my eyes. The vicious female villain has committed many evil deeds and has finally been driven out of the house. Who cares if she's just a country bumpkin from the countryside? Even if she's the real heiress, so what? She can't hold a candle to our Wan. Watching her desperately try to please the Wan family while being nowhere near as outstanding as our beloved Wan gives me so much satisfaction. But this villainess is quite pitiful too. The Wan family was originally her real home, and now she's been kicked out. On such a cold day, she might freeze to death on the streets. Hey, villainous fan upstairs, shut up already. Defending her probably means you're just as malicious yourself. The barrage comments are noisy and chaotic. I casually washed a cucumber and started munching on it with a crisp crunch. Watching the drama unfold in real time is quite entertaining. The barrage is still in the midst of a heated battle. Speaking of which, today is actually the female supporting character's mother's birthday. She carefully prepared a beautiful bouquet, only to find out that her mother is allergic to pollen, which immediately angered everyone. Am I the only one who noticed that it was Wan who told the female supporting character that her mother loved flowers, which is why she prepared the bouquet? The female supporting character didn't know her mother was allergic to pollen, but didn't the female lead, who grew up in the Wan family, know either? Here comes the lecture from upstairs again. It's just that our female lead is a bit more strategic. Not as soft as her name suggests. Well, Li Xing kind of had it coming. Clang. The half-eaten cucumber in my hand fell to the floor. Li Xing, isn't that my neighbor's sister's name? I remember her biological family, who had the wrong child, found her a few years ago. Could she be the evil female supporting character, true heiress that the bullet comments are talking about? How could that be? I still vividly remember the gentle neighbor girl holding my hand and coaxing me to do math problems when I was little. I can't sit still anymore. I hopped onto my little tricycle, headed to the affluent neighborhood where, as mentioned in the bullet comments, Li Xing was kicked out. The affluent neighborhood is quite a distance from my recycling station. I pedaled hard for almost an hour before I reached the place. From a distance, I saw a woman with swollen cheeks stumbling along the roadside. Her cheeks were so swollen that it was immediately clear how much force her assailant had used. Those bright eyes I knew so well were now filled with tears, and her body was as frail as a piece of paper, as if she would be blown away by the wind at any moment. I gasped, taking a bite of cold noodles. Li Xing, mentioned in this bullet comment, was actually the neighbor's sister I knew, so all those plot lines were true then. The bullet comments were still scrolling rapidly. Seeing how miserable the supporting female character is, I actually feel a bit sorry for her. Sorry for what? If she wants to snatch family from our Ruan darling, she should be prepared to be defeated by our Ruan darling. I remember her ending was tragic. She was kicked out of the Ruan family. No one dared to take her in, and in the end, she could only wash dishes. Then, on her way home from work, she was dragged into an alley by a group of thugs. I saw the last bullet comment. I was about to explode. This is simply alarmist. The Li Xing I remember was gentle and beautiful, the smartest student in our 10-mile radius. she was also the one who always looked after me and tutored me. She taught me to study hard, and even when grandma couldn't afford the tuition, she paid for it herself with her scholarship. Otherwise, with my mediocre grades, I probably would have gone to work without even finishing high school. How could such a good sister end up as the target of online criticism? I quickened my pace. As the tricycle creaked unsteadily, I approached Li Xing. The bullet screen also noticed my presence at this moment. Wait, what's that flying over there? This is a rich neighborhood. Maybe some young master or lady is coming back. Holy crap. Where did that tricycle come from? Screech. I executed a stylish drift. Stopping right in front of Li Xing emerged almost in a daze. Her face hurt, and her back and stomach also hurt. Before coming out, she had been kicked once by her father and once by her brother. The cold eyes of those people were still vivid in her mind. She hugged herself, feeling dizzy and lightheaded, wishing she could just collapse right then and there. The next second, a loud creak sounded in front of her. Li Xing looked up. A little startled, she saw a trishaw stop in front of her. The trishaw was entirely black and appeared clean, as if it had been wiped down. However, all three wheels were covered in mud, indicating it had traveled a considerable distance. Looking up again, Li Xing saw a somewhat familiar face. Hello, Qingyang Street Recycling Station. Do you have any waste to be recycled? I smiled and looked at Li Xing. Li Xing looked at me in a daze, his body swaying. Useless. Maybe I'm the one who should be recycled. After all, they all say I live like trash. She gave a bitter laugh. I froze for a moment. I didn't expect her to answer like that. What did that family do to her to break such a confident woman down like this? I still wanted to speak up, but Li Xing didn't give me the chance. As if remembering something incredibly painful, Li Xing closed his eyes and fell straight forward. I reacted instantly, jumped off the tricycle, and caught Li Xing. I carefully lifted her onto my small tricycle. The bullet screen was stunned. Who is this person riding the tricycle? Why have I never seen her before? I don't know. She's probably an insignificant NPC. How did she pick up the villainous? I ignored the barrage of comments and continued pedaling my tricycle, heading towards my recycling station. By the time Li Xing opened her eyes again, it was already dark outside. She stared blankly at the small, unfamiliar space. Before Li Xing could speak, I handed her a steaming bowl of porridge. Fill your stomach first, I said with a smile, looking at her. This is my exclusive recipe. You won't find this taste anywhere else. Li Xing stared at my face, stunned. I saw a hint of familiarity in the smiling eyes of the girl in front of me. Are you, Xiao He? It was a summer day when Grandma found me. The lotus flowers by the roadside were in full bloom, so she named me Xiao He. I nodded. It's me, Sister Xingxing. You still remember me? Li Xing's wary expression from earlier vanished. She traced my features with her eyes, and a hint of relief appeared on her thin face. Time really flies. Xiao He has grown so much. Xiao He can cook now. I brought the white porridge to Li Xing's mouth. You should have some porridge first. There are also some side dishes over there. Li Xing picked up the bowl and took a sip. She was truly hungry, having not had a drop to eat since being kicked out of the Wan family. Immediately, Li Xing gently smacked her lips. Her eyes filled with shock. This porridge, the taste of plain congee, is extremely subtle. Upon the first spoonful, only a warm sensation glides across the tongue. As the congee lingers in the mouth, the delicate fragrance of rice slowly emerges. After swallowing, a hint of sweetness blossoms at the back of the tongue, and a warmth spreads through the stomach. It was a deliciousness I had never experienced before. I looked at Li Xing's expression and knew exactly what she was thinking. She proudly lifted her chin. I told you, I have a secret recipe. I have a unique talent for cooking. No matter what ingredients pass through my hands, they become incredibly delicious. When I'm not collecting trash, I also ride my tricycle out to set up a stall. Xiao He is amazing. Li Xing suddenly lowered her head dejectedly. Unlike me, I can't do anything. I raised my hand and solemnly lifted Li Xing's head. Sister, don't listen to others' nonsense. You are very good and very capable. You're good at studying, often ranking in the top 3 in your grade. You're good at sewing, with stitches so fine even grandma praises them. You're good at singing, better than many singers. People who are prejudiced against you will belittle you no matter what you do, but that's not your fault. It's because they are narrow-minded. Li Xing stared at me blankly. Suddenly, her tears flowed even more fiercely. I was at a loss. What's going on? Did I try to do good but mess things up? Bullet comments rolled across the screen. this little NPC sure knows how to preach. Actually, I don't think what she said was wrong. It seems the supporting female character didn't do anything wrong. It was the Wan family who thought she would steal the female lead's things, so they were prejudiced against her. Forget about the villainess. She's already been kicked out and is no longer a threat. Ha ha ha. Another satisfying scene. The gloomy villain failed against the male lead, suffered the consequences, and was scorned by everyone. He's standing on the overpass. He's not going to commit suicide, is he? I looked up slightly. The villain's family is quite wealthy. If he jumps, his vast fortune will be handed over to our male and female leads. Oh, if only someone could help him. With a villain's personality, directly giving him a house and a car, the villain is a bit ruthless, but he's incredibly good to his own people. I slammed the table and stood up. God of wealth, here I come. Shinyu bought a can of beer. He sat by the overpass and chugged the can of beer. The company's funding had collapsed, and decades of his hard work were ruined. Life seemed to have become completely dark. He looked down at the pedestrian bridge, several stories high, and slowly stood up. Before Shinyu could take a step, the next second, his entire body was enveloped from head to toe by a thick fishing net. Subsequently, Shinyu was entangled in the fishing net, and a powerful force directly pulled him back from the edge of the overpass. I tied the other end of the fishing net to the small tricycle, and pedaled in the opposite direction. A muffled groan came from behind me as the man was pulled to the ground. I stopped the tricycle. I wiped the sweat from my forehead. The man, who had been restrained in the fishing net behind me, had already fainted from the impact. I loaded Shinyu, along with his fishing net, onto my small tricycle. The bullet comments exploded again. OMG, why is it this extra again? Isn't it enough that she picked up the villainess? Now she's even taking the antagonist home. What's going on? A whole nest of vicious villains gathered together. This random passerby's family owns a junkyard, which suits these two vicious villains perfectly. Trash belongs in a junkyard. My foot, pedaling the trishaw, paused, staring at the bullet comments in midair. I suddenly spoke. A recycling station is not a place to store trash. Recycling means that everything can have another value. I propped myself up on the small tricycle with one hand and unbuttoned my shirt, revealing the lining underneath. Printed prominently on it were 4 large characters, turning waste into treasure. The bullet comments were silent for a moment, then quickly scrolled again. OMG, OMG, OMG. Is she talking to us? She seems to be able to see our bullet comments. Mom, I'm on TV. When I carried Shinyu off the small tricycle, Li Xing poked his head out from the entrance of the recycling station and his eyes widened when he saw me carrying a person wrapped in a thick fishing net. Xiaohe, did you kill someone? My hand paused. I looked down. Shinyu was still wrapped in the thick fishing net, blood seeping from his forehead due to the impact. Looking utterly miserable, I turned my head, wiping away tears, and began to act. Sister Xingxing, I didn't mean to. Li Xing was stunned for a moment, then seemed to make up her mind. She grabbed the shovel nearby. Xiaohe, I'll help you bury it. I froze, my hand trembling as I moved Shinyu. Shinyu fell off my back, startled by the impact. Shinyu groggily woke up. Li Xing, standing nearby, jumped in surprise. Xiaohe, he's not completely dead. She held the shovel, closing her eyes and wanting to deliver the final blow. I quickly stopped her. Sister, you've misunderstood. After much persuasion, Li Xing finally accepted that this was the second person I had brought back. She somewhat sheepishly dropped the shovel. Shinyu had already crawled out of the fishing net after waking up. He sat silently on the pile of cardboard boxes by the door, listening to the conversation between Li Xing and me. The bullet comments were also flowing. The supporting actress is truly ruthless and a woman of few words. She's trembling, ready to deliver the final blow. The supporting actress is so righteous. Seeing the villain's handsome face so disfigured, I inexplicably feel a little pity. What's wrong with the people upstairs? This is a stumbling block preventing our male and female leads from being together. This is what they deserve. I ignored the bullet comments. He conveniently brought out a bowl of white porridge that had been simmering since the morning. Shinyu glared at me. Do you think I would bow for such a small gain? His stomach rumbled at the opportune moment. Shinyu, he took the porridge. He took a sip. It's delicious. After recovering his strength, Shinyu looked around my junkyard. He shook his head, coming to a conclusion. It's really broken. Li Xing, already aware of his identity, stepped forward to defend me. Xiaohe, taking you in is something to be happy about. Otherwise you'd definitely be living under a bridge right now. I turned to look at Li Xing, deep in thought. She didn't seem as melancholic as when she was first picked up. Li Xing seemed to read my mind, and she lowered her head shyly. I thought about it carefully. Xiao He, you're right. I shouldn't compromise myself for people who are already prejudiced against me. I'm not as bad as they say. She pulled out an admission letter from behind her back as if by magic. Originally, I wanted to wait until Mom's birthday party to give her a surprise, but they probably don't want to see it. After all, it wasn't the daughter they liked who achieved good grades. I leaned in and immediately widened my eyes. Tsinghua University admission letter. As I said that, I felt something was off. Wait, I've already graduated, so this is. Li Xing said, I got a recommendation for postgraduate studies. I laughed out loud. Great, I'll make you a meat dish to celebrate today. I pulled Li Xing's hand and walked towards the recycling station. Shen Yu still sat motionless on the cardboard box by the door. I took 2 steps and then turned back. Are you going to cosplay a stone lion at the entrance? Shen Yu remained silent, simply looking at me. He still had a wound on his forehead, and his white shirt was wrinkled, giving him the appearance of a dejected puppy. Come in. Do I need to send a sedan chair for you? I said. Shen Yu's eyes lit up for a moment. He slowly got up from the cardboard box and followed behind Li Xing and me. Li Xing whispered. Just now he said he was broke. I patted her hand reassuringly. From the bullet comments, I learned that Shen Yu's company's secrets were leaked, so his project was stolen by the male lead, and his capital chain is now broken, on the verge of bankruptcy. The person who leaked Shen Yu's company's secrets was none other than the female lead, Wan Wan. In the novel's plot, a piece of candy the female lead gave Shen Yu when they were children made such an impression on him that he remembers it to this day. Later, the female lead joined Shen Yu's company as his assistant. However, she was only there as an undercover agent for the male lead, with the confidential information in hand. Wan Wan packed up and left. Shen Yu was utterly despondent and contemplated suicide, and then, I scooped him back with a fishing net. I bought 2 fish at the market. I'm going to make a meat dish. As I deftly scaled the fish, I noticed 2 other people standing nearby, so I directed them. Sister, you go wash the vegetables. Shen Yu, you go heat the oil. Don't just stand there. Li Xing quickly went to wash the vegetables. Shen Yu thought for a while, then, under the pressure of my gaze, bit the bullet and picked up the oil. Almost burned my pot. I was helpless. He had no choice but to switch their tasks. As they each went about their duties, I saw the bullet comments start to scroll again. Third most satisfying moment of the year. The scheming bad kid Chen Ju has been exposed. The bad kid who always went against our genius adorable baby has also been kicked out. Ha ha ha, this is too satisfying. Hey. Why is that extra always staring? Is she looking at us? Wait, why did she put down the cleaver in her hand? She's not going out to pick up people again, is she? Amidst the chattering guesses of the bullet screen, I turned my head to look at Shen Yu and Li Xing. Add another pair of chopsticks today. I'd become quite adept at picking people up. Chen Ju was found outside a convenience store. He stood outside the display window, staring at the food inside for a very long time. So I guessed he must have been hungry. I parked my tricycle by the roadside and walked up to Chen Ju. My family made sauerkraut fish today. Do you want to come and have some with me? Chen Ju's small face was smudged with dirt. He hesitated, then turned his head and stared at me for a moment. I pulled a piece of candy from my pocket and gave it to him. Perhaps he was starving. Chen Ju took the candy and popped it into his mouth. Then his little face crumpled up. Chen Ju said with a bitter face. It's bitter. I was shocked. That's impossible. Then, I took a closer look. It turned out to be a strange flavored candy. I chuckled. You're pretty lucky. I ate a whole bag and didn't get a bitter one, but you hit it on your first try. Chen Ju didn't say anything. He was too hungry. Even if the candy in his mouth was bitter, he swallowed it. Seeing that Chen Ju ignored me, I sighed. Kids are a bit different from adults after all. With Shen Yu, I could at least knock him out and stuff him in the car. Can't exactly do that with a child. Just as I was feeling troubled, Chen Ju slipped his hand into mine. He looked up at me. Let's go, sister sauerkraut fish. It went surprisingly smoothly. Chen Ju got into my small tricycle. On the way back, I painstakingly lectured him. You can't go with strangers. What if you encounter bad people? Chen Ju said, oh, and then asked, is Sour Fish Sister a bad person? I'm not. I couldn't be bothered to correct his address. You need to remember this well. Don't let anyone abduct you. Chen Ju fell silent. As they neared the recycling station, the child in the back of the tricycle spoke again. He said, I smell the pickled fish. It's very fragrant. It's steaming hot, warm. When I returned, the food had already been laid out on the table. 4 pairs of chopsticks were neatly arranged. As soon as I announced dinner, everyone grabbed their bowls and devoured their food. They all seemed to be starving, until they had eaten their fill. Shen Yu wiped his mouth before looking at the others at the table. I remember you. Shen Yu looked at Li Xing. Are you Wan Ruan's older sister? Li Xing's face fell. I'm not worthy of being her sister. Being Wan Ruan's sister meant she would be beaten, scolded, and blamed for things she didn't do. Everyone would always side with Wan Wan, even though she was their blood relative. Shen Yu looked at Chen Ju again. Aren't you Chen Shen's son? Chen Shen was the male lead mentioned in the bullet comments. My ears perked up. Chen Ju said, I'm not his biological child. That woman's child produced a paternity test, and I was kicked out. Shen Yu immediately burst out laughing. Good thing you're not. I was wondering how someone as ugly as him could have such a beautiful child. I stared at the bullet comments. I pieced together some information from the noisy bullet comments. The female lead, Wan Wan, and the male lead, Chen Shen, spent a night together 5 years ago, after which Wan Wan disappeared, pregnant. The Wan family chose to help her conceal the matter after they found out. Later, Wan Wan went abroad to study and have her child. When she returned to China, the Wan family discovered that Wan Wan was not their biological daughter, which led to the appearance of Li Xing. Shen Yu, on the other hand, is the business rival of the male protagonist, Chen Shen. Chen Ju's mother entered into a business marriage with Chen Shen, and he serves as a foil to that genius adorable baby. Wow, I don't know what the author was thinking, but they insisted on creating a contrasting group for all 3 family members, as if without comparison, the protagonist's excellence couldn't be highlighted. I cleared my throat. What are you going to do next? Li Xing said. The news of the Wan family kicking me out has spread everywhere. I'll look for some waitressing jobs tomorrow. Wrong. I shook my head in disagreement. Of course, you're going to pursue a master's degree. You worked so hard to get good grades and successfully secured a spot for postgraduate study. Are you really going to throw away such a promising future to be a waitress? But the Wan family, Li Xing hesitated. You earned this with your own ability. The admission letter is already in your hands. I said, no matter how powerful the Wan family is, can they interfere with national admissions? I then looked at Shen Yu. Shen Yu inexplicably felt like he was being questioned by a teacher. He tentatively offered, I'll be your helper. What's with this assistant talk? It's just one failed project. Just start over. I slammed the table. Your Shen family has such a solid foundation. At worst, you can go back and inherit the family business, getting all worked up over one project. Shen Yu widened his eyes. You're right. I then turned to look at Chen Ju. Chen Ju took another bite of rice before speaking slowly. I don't know. The child's face was filled with confusion. I softened my tone. You should find your grandpa, and wait for your mom to come back to the country. Chen Ju's mother and Chen Shen had a business marriage. There was no affection between them. His mother was a very capable woman, and her business was no smaller than Chen Shen's. A father may not be a father, but a mother must be a mother. As for Li Xing and Shen Yu, perhaps it was the power of the plot. The plot dictated that they should hit rock bottom at that moment. No matter how much they struggle to achieve through effort, they are villains, and thus deserve no future. I also saw Chen Ju's ending in the bullet comments. As a child wandering alone outside, the news from his grandfather's side was tightly sealed, until Chen Ju's mother returned to the country. But Chen Ju had long been taken away by human traffickers, and her whereabouts were unknown. At the end of the story, Chen Ju's mother also became another antagonist and was ultimately defeated by the male and female protagonists. The 3 people in front of them fell into deep thought, clearly, under the influence of the plot. They had never considered any other way out besides self-destruction. I took out my phone and showed the 3 of them my balance. Their expressions changed from confusion to shock. How many zeros? Shen Yu asked in surprise. I smiled. You wouldn't think that scrap collectors are necessarily destitute, would you? In fact, that's not the case. Besides collecting scrap, this place also serves as a recycling and packaging station. Waste paper is sent to paper mills for recycling. Waste plastic is sent to plastic recycling factories for crushing, melting, and granulation to be regenerated into new plastic products. Waste metal is also sent to smelters for smelting and refining to extract metal elements. Nothing that is discarded is useless. It just depends on whether we can find new meaning in it. I looked at everyone, raising my chin slightly. Everyone, our purpose is to turn waste into treasure. After finishing the meal, I clapped my hands. All eyes were drawn to me. I gently said, "Now, all of you, go wash the dishes." The next day, I bought a high-speed rail ticket to send Chen-ju to his maternal grandfather's house. I did Chen-yu a favor. He was to escort Chen-ju back. On the surface, Chen-ju's maternal grandfather had given all his family property to his daughter over the years, but as an old generation power holder, he had his own trump cards. Otherwise, the male lead in the story wouldn't have kept the news so tightly under wraps. He only learned about these things much later in the story, but by then, it was too late. "Thank you." Before leaving, Chen-yu looked at me as if he had something more to say. I grinned, showing a mouthful of white teeth. "Don't worry, I have no other intentions. The money and effort I'm putting in now, you'll have to repay me hundreds or thousands of times over in the future." Chen-yu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. "Xiao-he, I'm not an ungrateful person. I will repay this kindness." Chen-ju was a very quiet child. He hugged my leg. I bought Chen-ju a small backpack and filled it with some snacks and children's picture books. But Chen-ju didn't want these picture books. He said they were childish. Finally, I took him to buy some advanced mathematics. Is this right? As expected, he's the perfect foil for the genius baby in the story. Li Xing stayed with me even before the school year began. She is actually a very perceptive person. Her previous stubbornness was partly due to being controlled by the plot and partly because she deeply craved love. But after my guidance, Li Xing is now gradually letting go. Accepting that your loved ones don't love you is also a form of growth. I took Li Xing with me everywhere to run errands. I wonder if it's because there's a unique attraction between the supporting female character and the main male and female characters. Once, when discussing a collaboration with people from the alchemy factory, we ran into the male and female protagonists. At this point, the male protagonist, Chen Shen, and the female protagonist had already gone through a period of hardship, and the genius baby had also returned to his roots. All that was left was a right moment to announce it to the world. I've collaborated with this alchemy factory many times. They're old acquaintances. Chen Shen is also discussing cooperation, seemingly wanting to order a batch of parts. Wan was the first to spot Li Xing. She covered her mouth, very surprised. "Sister, what are you doing here?" She looked around at the factory environment, and her small mouth curled. "You're not working here, are you?" Li Xing rolled her eyes. Not wanting to bother with her, Li Xing remained silent, but Wan persisted. Clinging to her, "Sister, I've already pleaded with Mom and Dad. As long as you're willing to admit your mistake and apologize to me, they'll consider letting you return to the Wan family." Li Xing refused. I politely declined. Ruan's eyes instantly welled up with tears. "Are you still hating me?" Chen Shen immediately stepped forward to shield Wan. "If you dare make her shed a single tear, I'll break your wings. If you dare hurt my woman, I'll exterminate your entire bloodline." The barrage comments had been screaming about how sweet the main couple was. Now they fell into unanimous silence. Why do I feel like Wan is a bit of a green tea? This male lead is so chinibyo. This is an old school novel. Don't have such strong opinions about our male and female leads, but exterminating 9 generations of a family. The Qing dynasty fell long ago. Li Xing was also amused. "Where did this buried love young master come from?" Chen Shen angrily shouted. "Where's your boss? I'll have him fire you today." I was communicating with a client when I was drawn to the commotion here. Seeing Li Xing surrounded, I immediately furrowed my brows. I walked over. "I'm her boss. What do you want to say?" Wan sized me up, noticing the woven bag I was holding with the words, "Qingqing Scrap Recycling Station," printed on it. She let out a disdainful snort. "I thought you were working in a factory. But I never imagined you'd sink so low as to end up at a garbage dump. It really matches your shabby appearance." I looked at her expressionlessly. Chen Shen beside her also chimed in, kneeled down and kowtowed to Wan twice, saying, "I was wrong, and I'll let you leave unharmed." I glanced up at Chen Shen. The manager on the side hurried over but ignored Chen Shen, instead looking at me apologetically. "Ms. Meng He, this person is here to order parts. He's not from our factory," he clarified. Then turned to Chen Shen. "Sir, I'm afraid we can't accept this order. Not only that, but no refinery in all of Qingqing will provide you with service." Chen Shen frowned. "You're just a small manager. How dare you speak to me like that? Get your boss here." I smiled. "I'm really sorry, but his boss is also me." Over the years, I had built good relationships with various factories, accumulating a considerable amount of savings. This factory had long been my enterprise. I clapped my hands. And immediately several burly men surrounded Chen Shen and Wan screamed, "What do you want?" I said, "I'll give you two choices. First, apologize to Li Xing, and I'll let you leave unharmed. Second, I'll beat you up, force you to apologize, and then throw you out." These men were specifically kept by me to prevent any troublemakers, forced by circumstances. Wan had no choice but to reluctantly lower her head. As the two left, Chen Shen was still glaring at me, but soon he didn't dare to glare anymore. Chen Shen's acquisition of precision parts this time was aimed at entering a new industry, investing more than half of his cash flow into it. Chen Ju also quickly sent me a message. His maternal grandfather was very grateful to me for taking Chen Ju in and buying him a ticket. Unfortunately, most of the resources in this industry are in Chen Ju's maternal grandfather's hands. If he declared that Chen Shen would not be given resources, then Chen Shen wouldn't even be able to get his foot in the door. He soon faced the same dilemma that Shen Yu had encountered. By then, Chen Shen had brought Wan specifically to apologize. Wan had lost her previous arrogance and bowed to me very sincerely. I didn't speak, but pointed to Li Xing. Li Xing snorted. I politely declined. He hit a wall with me. Chen Shen decided to use his identity as Chen Ju's father to go find his father-in-law. But he was kicked out before he even entered the door. After all, how could his grandfather, who loved his child as much as his own life, tolerate him when he had kicked out a child of a few years old? All the resources given to Chen Shen over the years were taken back. In the city where Chen Ju's grandfather lived, Shen Yu made a comeback with the help of Chen Ju's grandfather's influence, and quickly made a name for himself with his business acumen. Chen Ju's maternal grandfather took a liking to him and intended to promote him. Shen Yu often went to visit. It just so happened that Chen Shen was kicked out. He immediately started a video call to show Li Xing and me this gratifying scene. "Oh my, who do we have here?" Shen Yu looked at Chen Shen with a sarcastic tone. Chen Shen glared at him. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west. Shen Yu shrugged. "I know. Don't bully the young for being poor. Don't bully the middle-aged for being poor. Don't bully the old for being poor. And the dead deserve respect." It was also through Shen Yu's account that I learned some other inside stories. It turned out that Chen Shen was originally a poor student sponsored by the old man. Later, his daughter fell in love with a scumbag who got her pregnant but was afraid to take responsibility and ran away. The daughter adamantly refused to abort the child. When the old man was distressed, Chen Shen stepped forward and offered to marry his daughter, claiming the child was his. Chen Shen's initial startup capital was also provided by the old man. It suddenly dawned on me. So you're saying he knew from the start that Chen Ju wasn't his biological child? Exactly. And he still had the nerve to claim it was a marriage of convenience. Just a phoenix man marrying into wealth, Shen Yu said, her words dripping with venom. Li Xing leaned in. "Then why does Xiao Ju share his surname?" "Oh, because the child's mother is also surnamed Chen." Shen Yu replied with a smile. "I see, so this is old man Chen's, Chen, not Chen Shen's, Chen." The barrage exploded with comments. "Damn, I was genuinely angry earlier about the male lead being cuckolded. Turns out he put the hat on himself." The script never mentioned how the male lead got his start. There's actually this past story. How did the plot fall apart? It feels less interesting than the villain group. This guy isn't good enough for our Wan darling. At the same time, the Wan family also encountered some problems. The Wan family was in the spice business, and the latest fragrance was personally crafted by Wan. It caused a sensation as soon as it hit the market, but it was quickly exposed as having plagiarized another person's formula. And this person was a renowned expert in the spice industry, who completely refused to communicate or reconcile, intent only on crushing the Wan family. Unfortunately, Li Xing's advisor was her, so the Wan family sought out Li Xing again. Li Xing had already gone to City A for graduate studies. The Wan family always had an inexplicably condescending air about them. When they saw Li Xing, their expressions were still very surprised. "You're actually Teacher Wang's student?" Li Xing sneered. "Of course you wouldn't know. After all, you never cared about me." Father Wan frowned. "Since you're Teacher Wang's student, go tell her that this fragrance was plagiarized by you." Ruan's mother also said, "Your sister is just being immature for the moment. I can't stand by and watch her ruin herself. As the older sister, it's only right that you make a little more effort." Li Xing quietly watched them. Suddenly, she spoke up. "Do you know that my being switched back then wasn't an accident?" Ruan's expression froze for a moment. It was Ruan's mother who deliberately swapped her. This has nothing to do with Ruan. Don't drag her into this, Ruan's elder brother reprimanded, but my adoptive mother told me that she had found Ruan a long time ago and told her about her background, Li Xing said softly. She always beat and scolded me, and even wanted to marry me off to an old bachelor for money. Heaven knows how happy I was when I found out I wasn't her biological daughter. It turned out she wasn't my real family, and I naively thought my family would treat me well. A hint of awkwardness appeared on Father Ruan and Mother Ruan's faces. Ruan's eldest brother said, "You're from the countryside, you can't compare to Ruan's delicate nature." It was at this moment that I found Li Xing. In the days since, although Li Xing has been more invigorated than before, I can tell that she still harbors illusions about the Ruan family, watching her being surrounded. I glanced at Shen Yu and Chen Ju, who insisted on coming along beside me. "Go," I commanded. Shen Yu strode over. "Oh, look who it is. Isn't this Ms. Ruan, the plagiarist herself?" Ruan's elder brother shielded Ruan, scolding him. "Don't talk nonsense. Isn't this our good-for-nothing young master Ruan? I heard you were a mistress and got beaten up by the legal wife." Shen Yu clicked his tongue. This was originally a secret, but Shen Yu's intelligence system was incredibly powerful. Ruan's father frowned. "Where did this brat come from? Think he didn't mention you?" Shen Yu glanced over. "Those 8 little lovers of yours outside are all waiting for their status. Have you discussed this with your wife?" Ruan's mother instantly flared up. "You dare to sneak around with women behind my back." Shen Yu smiled, his words dripping with venom. "By the way, Mrs. Ruan, that young stud you're keeping outside seems to have another girlfriend. He's using your money to support her." Father Ruan also raged. "You're actually keeping someone outside." The scene immediately spiraled out of control. Ruan swayed precariously. Stop fighting. Stop fighting." Chen Ju jogged over at the opportune moment, delivering a fatal blow. "Your son Ruan Xiaoxiao was caught peeking at girls changing clothes during swimming class and has been expelled from school." At this, Ruan also fainted. The so-called genius child prodigy may be smart, but without any parental guidance, a young sapling can easily grow crooked. I strode over and took Li Xing's hand. "Let's go. I'll treat you to something delicious." Shen Yu hummed a tune as he followed. "What are we eating? I'm hungry too." Chen Ju jogged to catch up. Me too, looking at the person beside her. Li Xing smiled through her tears. Suddenly, she felt, the Ruan family was nothing special, just ordinary. She next heard about them in a barrage of comments. Ever since they found out I could see the bullet comments, these people have gone out of their way to broadcast them to me. Old Master Chen's daughter is back in the country. She didn't hesitate to go with Chen Shen to get a divorce certificate. Chen Shen knelt and begged, but it was completely useless. And someone even filmed it, causing his stock to plummet. His stock still has room to fall. The Ruan family has completely fallen. The court ruled that the plagiarism was established. Serves them right. May all plagiarists face righteous judgment. The Ruan family's stock has hit its limit down, and they still have the nerve to ask our supporting female character for help. How shameless. She's not just a supporting female character, she has her own name. Well done. I will support you as the new main characters. I'm in a great mood. Happily preparing a big meal, but then an inconspicuous bullet comment popped up again. "Oh, the villainess from the novel next door is about to drown herself in the lake." I put down my pot. It seems the villain reclamation project still needs to continue. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.